I remember that night clearly. It was supposed to be simple, just a chill evening drive through the countryside with my friend Jake. He'd been on my case about getting out more, doing something other than sitting in my apartment, scrolling mindlessly through social media, and honestly, I needed a break from everything. "Let's just go for a drive," Jake had said. "There's this old cornfield out by Route 29. Nobody goes there anymore, but the views are insane when the sun sets." It wasn't like we had plans anyway, so I agreed. It was mid-July, one of those evenings where the heat of the day still clung to everything, but the sky had started to cool, giving off that beautiful mix of orange and purple. We packed a couple of beers, grabbed some chips from the corner store, and headed out. The drive felt good. You know, those stretches of road where the windows are down, music's playing low, and you can just let your mind wander. Jake was talking about his job, the girl he'd started seeing. I wasn't really paying attention, to be honest. I was just letting myself enjoy the escape. About 25 minutes later, we pulled up to this old dirt road that led into the cornfield. It wasn't anything special at first glance, just rows and rows of tall corn, the kind that stretches so far you can't see the end of it. There wasn't even a sign for the place, just a faded wooden fence lining the edge. Jake parked the car, killed the engine, and we sat there for a second, taking it in. "I told you this place was cool," he said, grinning. I wasn't convinced. Cool wasn't the word I'd use. The place felt off. It wasn't that there was anything immediately wrong with it, but you know when you just get a bad feeling? Like you're somewhere you're not supposed to be? Yeah, it was like that. We got out of the car, leaning against the hood as the sky slowly darkened. It was quiet, too quiet. The kind of quiet where you realize just how much you rely on background noise to feel comfortable. No cars, no people, not even birds. Just us and the corn swaying gently in the breeze. "Want to walk through it?" Jake asked, pointing towards the rows. "Seriously?" I raised an eyebrow. "It's a cornfield. What's there to see?" He shrugged. "I don't know. Thought it'd be fun. Besides, we can make it a quick lap and head back before it gets too dark." Against my better judgment, I agreed. We left the car behind, stepping into the field. The moment we did, the atmosphere changed. The corn was tall, taller than I expected. It brushed against my arms as we moved through it, the dry leaves scratching at my skin. We walked in silence for a bit, making small talk about work and friends. Jake was always the more adventurous one, so I wasn't surprised when he suggested heading deeper into the field. I followed, but that uneasy feeling in my gut was growing stronger. I kept glancing back over my shoulder, but the car was long gone from view. All I could see now were endless rows of corn stretching out in every direction. "Hey, Jake, maybe we should turn back," I said, trying to sound casual. He didn't respond. Instead, he stopped in his tracks, staring straight ahead. "Jake?" Still nothing. I moved closer, trying to see what he was looking at. There, in the distance, was something. A figure? No, it couldn't be. It was too far away to make out clearly, but it didn't look right. It was standing still, just barely visible between the rows. "What is that?" I whispered, but Jake didn't answer. He was fixated on it, like he couldn't look away. My heart started racing. Every instinct was screaming at me to turn around, to go back, but Jake just kept staring. I grabbed his arm, pulling him back. "Dude, we need to leave, now." Finally, he snapped out of it, blinking as if waking from a dream. Yeah, you're right. Let's get out of here." We turned around and started walking fast, but something wasn't right. The rows of corn all looked the same, and no matter which direction we went, it felt like we were walking in circles. The car should have been close by, but it wasn't. My chest tightened, panic setting in. "Where's the car?" I asked, my voice shaky. Jake didn't answer. He was just as lost as I was, his confident swagger from earlier completely gone. We kept moving, trying to find any familiar landmarks, but there was nothing, just corn, endless corn, stretching on forever, and then the footsteps started. At first I thought it was Jake, but then I realized they were coming from behind us. Soft, deliberate footsteps, like someone or something was following us. I froze, turning around slowly. There was nothing there, just the rustling of the corn in the breeze. "Did you hear that?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. Jake nodded, his face pale. "We need to keep moving." We started walking faster, almost running now, but the footsteps stayed with us. Always just behind, never close enough to see, but too close to ignore. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, my breath coming in shallow gasps. We were being followed. I didn't know by what, but I knew we couldn't stop. Suddenly, Jake grabbed my arm, pulling me off the path we'd been following. "This way," he hissed, dragging me through the corn. We ran, pushing through the stalks, our legs catching on the dry leaves. My lungs burned, but I didn't care. I just needed to get out. We both did. After what felt like an eternity, we stumbled into a small clearing in the middle of the field. The car was nowhere in sight, but at least we weren't surrounded by corn anymore. "Where the hell are we?" I gasped, trying to catch my breath. Jake didn't answer. He was staring at something on the ground, a single old scarecrow lying face down in the dirt. It wasn't like the ones you see at farms, though. This one was off. Its clothes were ragged, its face nothing more than a burlap sack with crude black stitches for a mouth. And its arms, they were too long, almost unnaturally so. "We need to go," Jake said, his voice low. "Now." I didn't argue. We turned and ran, not caring about direction anymore, just desperate to get away from that thing. The footsteps were back, louder now, closer. I could feel them closing in on us, but I didn't dare look back. Finally, we broke through the last row of corn, stumbling onto the dirt road where we'd parked. But the truck, it was gone. Completely vanished, like it had never been there. We were alone, stranded, and the footsteps, they were right behind us.